Okay, we begin today the Gemara on Daf Nun Gimel Amud Beis, 5 or 6 lines up from the bottom of the Amud. The Gemara here quotes what we learned in the Mishnah regarding a boir. When you dig a pit in the Rosh Hashanah and someone falls in and gets damaged there. So what did the Mishnah say? If an ox walks and falls in with its utensils, so a shirt typically has in it a yoke or other kinds of utensils, and it falls in and it breaks. So the Mishnah said, for the damage of the shayr itself, whether it got injured or it died, you chayiv. But for the kelim that broke, for that you pater. So the Gemara here brings masnisin deloy kerab Yehuda. This halacha, that for the kelim that broke, you pater. This doesn't follow like the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. Tanya, because in the Braisa we learned Rabbi Yehuda mechayiv al niske kelim b'bayr. Rabbi Yehuda says, just like the shayr that died, you have to pay for. So the same thing, the kelim that broke, you also have to pay for that. There's no difference. But the Rabbanan say, though, when it comes to kelim, we had this throughout this Masechta. Kelim that break in a bar, you pater for that. So here, this is the Gemara where it's going to bring the source and the explanation of this machlekes between the Rabbanan and Rabbi Yehuda, whether you chayev for kelim in the bar or pater. Says the Gemara, my time with the Rabbanan. What's the source of the Rabbanan's opinion? Where do we see in the Torah that you pater for kelim? Because the Makra, the pasuk says, "V'nafal shama shayre chamar," that you dug a boir and then a ox or a donkey fell inside. So from this expression, shayre and chamar, what do we learn out? Shayre is v'lo yadam. Shayre says only an ox, but not a person. If a human being falls into the boir and he dies, specifically the human being is you pater only if he dies. We had already before in the Masechta, if a person gets injured in the boir, you are chayiv. Chamar v'lo kelim. When it says a donkey, it's extra. Why does the Torah have to spell this out? So it's saying chamor and not kelim, not vessels. If vessels fall in and break, you're going to be pater. That's the Rabbana. But Rabbi Yehuda says though, oi, when it says the word oi, it says shayr oi chamor. So the word oi is l'rabis is a kelim. That extra word is coming to say to include it for kelim as well. Yechayiv. It could have said shayr v'chamor, and even with the vav, we would know that it's shayr or chamor. But it says the word oi to say the word oi, that is to say to include even kelim. Ve'Rabbanon, but the Rabbanon say no. The word oi is actually written there. Oi mi boya le'lachalik. The word oi is necessary to divide. That you shouldn't think that you only chayiv if a shayr and a chamor fell in, but the oir is coming to be mechalik to say that shayr or chamor. So the word oir is not extra. Taisus here actually brings us a discussion about this in other places in Shas regarding the word oir. Sometimes the word oir, the Gemara says, is needed to be mechalik, sometimes not. Upon him here, the Gemara says that the word oir is needed to be mechalik. So you can't learn out from it to include kelim. But Rabbi Yehuda, l'chalek, so according to Rabbi Yehuda, doesn't he agree to this concept that the word oy is needed to divide shayr from the chamor? So how can you learn to be marba kelim? So Rabbi Yehuda says, no, this to learn out to be mechalik the ichayev for shayr itself or for chamor itself, mivenofal nafke. He learns it from the fact that it says in the pasuk a singular term, vinofal, that it fell in. If it would be shayr and chamor together, it should use a plural term. So from that I know that it's one alone. The Rabbanan argue in this, and they say, no, you can't learn it out from V'nafal. Because V'nafal, even though it uses a singular term, Tuva Mashma. The Torah would use a singular term, even if it means the Shayr and the Chamar. Rashi brings examples for this. One example Rashi brings is V'asa, Betzal, V'aliyav. When they built the Mishkan, it says V'asa, even though it's talking about Betzal and Aliyav. Other examples Rashi brings. So V'nafal could be going on both. So you need the Oy to be Mechalik. Okay, but now the Gemara asks another question. But Eimer, why shouldn't I say as follows? When the pasuk says you dug the boir and then v'nafal, something fell in, that's a klal. That includes everything. No matter what falls in, you should be responsible. Then the pasuk says shayr v'chamor, specifies specifically an ox or a donkey. That's a prat. The Torah is specifying dafke this. Now, what's the rule when the Torah says first a klal and then it specifies a prat? The rule is klal uprat, ein b'chlal ela mashe b'prat. Because the Torah first writes a klal and then it writes a prat, it specifies what the prat that it's saying is defining and explaining the klal. And the halacha of the klal is only what there is in the prat. Therefore, shayr v'chamorin, so now that the Torah is specified specifically an ox or a donkey, so it's only this, midyachirin ilai, but anything else that falls into the bar, that is, you should be pater. So we shouldn't be excluding only adam or kelim, we should be excluding everything. This is the prat that the Torah says, it's just this. So Amri, to this they answered and said, no. Afterwards, when the pasuk continues and says, Baal habar yishalim, that the one that dug the bar, he has to pay chazav kolal. The yishalim, Baal habar yishalim is again using a more general, inclusive term, which means you pay for everything. So now there's another klal. So here, what this is a klal or prat klal. First you have the klal of nafal, then the prat of shar and chamer, and then you have again the klal of that you have to pay for everything. Now, how do you understand the Torah when it says a klal, a prat, a klal? So then the rule is, prat. So then we're going to say that we don't say that the prat defines the klal, that it's only the prat excluding everything else. The fact that it wrote a klal again comes to say that no, we're going to be marbe, more than just the prat. So then why did the Torah write the prat in the middle? To say that what will marbe has to be similar to the prat. But it's not only the prat, but what's similar to the prat. Now, what does it mean similar to the prat? Ma prat mefurish bali chayim, just like the prat over here when it says sher and chamer, so that's animals. Avkol bali chayim. So therefore, from here we know that bali chayim that fall into the bar, you're going to be chayiv, and therefore that includes adam or kalim. Adam not bali chayim or kalim not bali chayim. Well, he's more than a bal chai. He's a human being. He's alive, but he's a human being. It's not a bal chai. It's not daimit to sher and chamer. So the Gemara asks on this klal prat klal, if that's the drasha that the Rabbanan are learning out, if so, maybe we should say that the ke'en haprat is actually more limited. Okay, and the point here is it has to be similar to the prat. How do you know exactly in what sense it has to be similar? Maybe I should say as follows: Ima prat mefurish. Just like you see, what's the prat? The Torah is specifying it's a davar, it's something, an ox or a donkey, shenivlasa metame, that the dead carcass of a shayr or a chamayr will make you tameh b'mage or b'masa, whether you touch it or whether you carry it. That's the halacha of any behemoth that's dead, the nevela, that you become tameh, mage or masa. So afkol, maybe I should say, when are you chayiv if you fall into a boir? Only something davash and evlasa metame b'mage b'masa. If it's something that if it's dead, then you become tameh if you touch or carry it. Avol oifes. But if so, when it comes to birds, like birds. So over there, the halacha is the only tameh by a nevela of a bird if you eat it, not if you touch it or you carry it. By a bird, the Torah says the lashon of achila. So maybe that would mean that any kind of chicken or anything like that that fell into the boir and dies, maybe you should be potter for that, because maybe that's the kana prat. It has to be like this detail as well, that the halacha of tumah is the same like sher and chamer. So the Gemara says no, we could still say it's a klal prat a klal, but if it's coming to exclude birds, he's saying that the ke'ena prat has to be mamish to this extent in the Indian of Tumah as well. But if so, nichtav rachmana chad prata. The Torah could have just written one prat. The Torah could have written either just shayr or just chamayr. So therefore, the fact that the Torah writes both shayr and chamayr, so therefore I say that the ke'ena prat is not so limited. It doesn't mean that it has to be ke'ena prat. It has to be a bal chai, and it has to have the halacha of tumah similar to it. It's just enough the fact that it's a bal chai, and therefore in that oifis are included as well. But the Gemara doesn't accept this answer, because the Gemara says you can't say that the Torah should write only shayr or only chamayr. Hai nichtev, which only one are you saying that the Torah should write? If the prat that the Torah would write would be only shayr, then I would actually go ahead and say that the ke'ena prat would even be more limited. Maybe I would say, hava mineh, that what's unique about a shayr? Why is the Torah choosing the prat of a shayr? That karav legabe mizbeachin. If it's something that's similar to the shayr in this prat, that it could be brought as a carbon on the mizbeach, for that you chayiv. She'ena karav legabe mizbeach, but if it can't be brought as a carbon, loy, you're not going to be chayiv if it falls into the bar. That's if the Torah would write shayr alone. I would say maybe the ke'ena prat is including this prat as well. On the other hand, because of Rachmana Chamayr, if the Torah would write only Chamayr, then I would say Hava Mineh Kodesh B'B'Chayra in. What's unique about a Chamayr is that the firstborn of a Chamayr, there's a din of Petach Chamayr, the halacha that you have to redeem it, that has a Kedusha of the firstborn. She'en Kodesh B'B'Chayra loy. But any animal that does not have the halacha of a Chamayr, like a Chamayr, maybe the halacha if it falls into a pit, you should be potter. Maybe that's what the ke'ena prat includes. So the Torah couldn't write just shayr or just chamayr, because then maybe I would interpret the ke'ena prat differently. I would say maybe it has to be ke'ena prat in these details here. So therefore, the Gemara now has charata of what it just said. The whole arichas over here that it just said, that what we have over here is a klal, a prat, a klal. The Gemara says, no, this is not a klal, a prat, a klal. Ella rather, from where do I know to say that I include in it even other things, not only the shayr and the chamayr, right? The Gemara's question was, maybe I should say that you have the klal, and then you have a prat, Shayr and Chamayr. How do I know that it's anything other than the Shayr and the Chamayr? Not because it's a klal prata klal, but for another reason. Because there's a ribu here in the pasuk. Ela Omakra, the pasuk afterwards says, Va'ameis yeloi. Va'ameis yeloi means whatever died then belongs to the person that died for him, the owner of the Shayr, Chamayr, whatever fell in. Va'ameis yeloi. Now, when the Torah writes these words, Va'ameis yeloi, what is it coming to say? Kol debar misa. Anything that falls in and dies, you'll be chayiv for that. So therefore, that's not only a Shayr and Chamayr. So we don't dash in klal prata klal adarabah. We have a ribui here. This ribui says not only the Shayr and the Chamayr, but anything that could die. So therefore, that's any kind of animal, even a bird as well, any kind of chaya that falls in.
So what do you say both Shayr and Chamayr?
Okay, the Gemara is going to explain. One second, let's see. The Gemara could have asked that, but the Gemara asks, one second, let's see. The Gemara asks another question here. So the Gemara, now if you're saying that you have a pasuk that's being marbe, you source to be marbe more than Shayr and Chamayr, even though that's a prat, is because it says Va'mesi Eloi. But if so, why would we think that you should be chayiv on Kalim? Bein l'Rabbanon de kamemayitel l'Kalim. Whether according to the Rabbanon that say that we learn out from Shayr to be memayit Kalim. Right, so after it has this ribui, we still say that the Torah wrote Shayr and Chamayr according to the Rabbanon, Shayr to be memayit Kalim and Chamayr to be memayit Adam. So the Gemara asks, Benigay to Shayr being memayit Kalim, why do I need Shayr to be memayit Kalim? It's not the bar mace. It's not something that can die. So I don't need something to be memayit. It's never included in the first place. Ubein Rabbi Yehuda the kamar biluhu lekalim. Rabbi Yehuda says you learn that from the extra word oy to be mar bekalim. What do you need a special ribui for? How could you say that there is a ribui to be marbe kalim? Kalim b'nei misaninu. If the Torah clearly writes afterwards on meisi eloi, which is saying only something that dies, so oi can't be coming to be marbe something which doesn't die, which is kalim. So this drasha to say that we learn out from v'meisi eloi is a contradiction to the whole point of kalim, whether according to the Rabbanon, whether according to Rabbi Yehuda. So the Gemara says, Omri, so the answer to this question, no, but there is a concept of misa by Kalim. Not in the literal sense that it dies, but shvirasan, zui misasan. When the Kalim break, that's the death of the Keli. The life of the Keli is the usage of the Keli. When the Keli is broken, that's the death of the Keli. So therefore, you do need a drasha to be marbe Kalim, or you could be marbe Kalim, that is, or you need a drasha to be memayit Kalim. So that's not a question. Now the Gemara interjects now with another inyan over here, based on what we learned before about how do we define the chiyuv of bar. Why are you chayiv when something falls into a bar? So now Rav the Omar, we learned before. Rav's opinion is bar shechayiv all of Torah. When you fall into a bar, why is the one that dug the bar chayiv for this? So Rav says lahavle v'loy lechabatay. The reason for the chiyuv is not the impact on the ground, because that's a grama. That ground is there from the karka elam. It's the hevel. It's the fumes that causes the animal not to be able to position itself. That's the reason why you're chayiv. So now the question is, how would this apply to Kalim? Bein l'Rabbanon, bein l'Rab Yehuda, whether according to the Rabbanon that says that we're excluding Kalim, whether according to Rabbi Yehuda that says no, we're being marbe Kalim. What do you need an exclusion, or how could you be marbe Kalim? Kalim b'nei havlaninu. Do the Kalim that fall in get affected by the hevel, by the bad environment in the bar? By a Shayr Chamayr that falls in, you could say that the hevel affects it negatively. But how do Kalim get affected by the hevel of the bar? So the Gemara says, yeah, the hevel could affect the Kalim of the bar. Not all Kalim, but some Kalim. Omri, they said, b'chadati, if you have brand new Kalim, the mipaki mahavla, it could burst from the hevel, from the bad environment in the ear, the fumes in the bar, it will cause these Kalim to burst. So therefore, in such a case, you're going to be chayiv for the damage of the Kalim of the bar. Okay, but now the Gemara though comes back to the drasha that it said before. So what did we explain when the Torah says, even though it may seem like Shayr and Chamayr is a prat and everything else is excluded, but we said no. V'hameisi eloi is the ribui to say that anything that's the bar misa is going to be included as well. But the Gemara asks that can't be the source, because v'hameisi eloi, these words v'hameisi eloi are not extra words to come and be marba more things here. We need the V'amesi Eloi for a different drasha. Likid Rava, as Rava already darshan. Ta'omar Rava said, Shayr psulei amugdashin shenafal abayr. A shayr that was pasal hektish and it was already redeemed. But the halach is after psulei mugdashin is redeemed, the owner can't do with it whatever he wants. As we learned already before, Rashi brings this in Daf Gimel Amud Beis. And shenafal abayr, it fell into the bayr, potter, and you're going to be potter for the damages. And the source is Shenemar V'hameis Yi Eloi. Only when the maze, b'misha meiz shaloi, only when the owner of this shor, for example, that fell in, if he can keep the shor for himself and do with it whatever he wants, then the Baal Bar is chayiv for this. Yotzazeh she'ena meiz shaloi. But if a shor that's a psuli hamikdashim that was redeemed, then you just have to bury it. You can't just give it to animals to eat, to a dog to eat, to do with it whatever you want. In such a case, you're going to be potted. That's what you darshan from these extra words. So you can't say that the drasha is going on, what we said before, to be marbe more than just shor and chamayr. So therefore the Gemara concludes with another pshat. Elo makra, therefore the Gemara says, where do we know that we are marbe more than just shor and chamayr? And we don't treat it as a klal uprat, because the pasuk says, kesef yoshev lebolav. Yeah, you should return the value, the money of what the damage that happened there to its owner. And this is l'rabbis called the isle bailim. So anything that falls in, that has an owner that owns this, and you causes him a loss of money, you have to pay for this. That's what we learn from kesef yoshev lebolav. So we know from this, it's not only shor and chamayr. Kesef, whatever has a value for the owner. So the Gemara asks, so yachi afil kelim v'adam nami. If so, that should apply to kelim and adam as well. The person that injures himself and there's a loss in his value, or the kelim that he owns. So over here, you should also have to pay for this. But the Gemara says, no. For that, we have the miyut. Omakra, shor v'lo yodam, chamer v'lo kelim. The fact that the Torah chooses to write it in this way. On one hand, it does write a prat, shor and chamer. On the other hand, it later writes kesef yashel lebalav, which means to pay for everything. So kesef yashel lebalav is coming to say that you have to add more, but then from shor and chamayr, the fact that the Torah specified those two, we still are going to be memayit, like Rabbanan said, shor v'lo yodam and chamayr v'lo kelim. Oh, now the Gemara asks, after all of this, so according to Rabbi Yehuda, the kamar biluhu lekelim. According to Rabbi Yehuda, that says that we're going to be mar bekelim as well, from the word oy, or maybe now from this that it says kesef yoshev lebalav. So according to Rabbi Yehuda, we're marbe that it includes kelim as well. So now bishleim is shoir, the fact that the Torah specified shoir, so memayit beyodam. That Rabbi Yehuda agrees that it comes to exclude that a person that falls into a bayr and dies, the Baal Bar is potter. But el chamayr my memayit bey. According to Rabbi Yehuda, what are you going to be memayit from the word chamayr? He doesn't hold of the miyut of kelim, so why is the Torah specifying a chamayr? So the Gemara concludes regarding this, Elo marave chamayr de bayr le Rabbi Yehuda. When the Torah writes the word chamayr, according to the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda here, and the Gemara here now brings another example of an extra word that we don't know what the drasha is, and v'seh the aveda. When the Torah speaks about the halachas of an aveda that you have to return, and the Torah over there specifies kisira chamayr and oyiseya nidachim, it says over there the lashon of sand, the Torah. The divrei hakol, that's not only according to Rabbi Yehuda, that according to everybody, kasha. This remains a question, and we don't know what the drasha of the extra word chamayr is, or what the drasha is from the extra word said, that it says by aveda. Okay. It's interesting that the Gemara finishes over with the word Elo here. Elo amarove. What's this Elo? Elo usually means the Gemara is having charata from what it said before. Seemingly it's not having charata from what it said before. The Gemara is just concluding the whole inyan that according to Rabbi Yehuda, the chamayr v'lei, he doesn't hold a chamayr v'lei kelim, so that remains unanswered. Okay, going back to what it said in the Mishnah, Nafal atoich shor cheres shoyte v'katan chayiv. A shor cheres shoyte v'katan that falls into a bayr, so for this the Baal Bayr is going to be chayiv. So the Gemara explains what this means. My shor cheres shoyte v'katan. How do you simply translate these words? The ax cheres shoyte v'katan. If you'll say the meaning is as follows: shor shel cheres, shor shel shoyte, shor shel katan. Not that the shor itself is a cheres shoyte v'katan, but a shor that's owned by a cheres shoyte v'katan. And then the pasuk is saying, or the Mishnah is saying, that then you'll be chayiv. So what would that mean? Ha shor shel pikeyach. If the shor that fell into the bayr was owned by a regular, healthy person, potter, in such a case, you're going to be potter. That's the distinction that the Mishnah is making. How could you? Why should you make such a distinction? Rashi says, "Bitmiyah." Where do you find in the Torah that it makes a distinction between a cheresh of a shayt of a cotton, again a shayr that is of a cheresh shayt of a cotton, or a shayr of a pekech that falls in, that there should be any distinction?
Why not? They did not make das to
And a chanami, the Mefarshim Taka say that by the misvara, maybe there would be a svara to be mechalik by a shayr of a cheresh shayt of a cotton, because a cheresh shayt of a cotton can't guard their shayr, so therefore you can't say it's his fault that it fell in. So the Baal Bar is chayiv for that. A shayr of a pikeyach, the pikeyach should be watching his shayr. So that's where the Baal Bar is potter. Misvara you could be mechalik, but still it's a chiddush And in the pasuk, there's no remes for this distinction, and if so, the Gemara wonders that if there's no remes in the pasuk for such a thing, then we can't make this distinction on our own misvara. So therefore, the Gemara says, "Amar Rabbi Yechanan, the pshat over here is shor shehu cheresh, shor shehu shaita, and shor shehu katan." We're talking about a shor which is a deaf mute, not that deaf mute, a shor that's deaf, and or a shor which is a shaita, or a shor which is a katan. How do you define a shor which is a katan? So one of the Rishonim say that a shor that's a cotton is a shor that can't do any work in the field yet. It can't plow yet. A shor that's very, very young. It was just born. It can't plow. That's a shor that's a cotton. Okay, but now the Gemara asks on this a similar question. The Gemara doesn't accept this either. The Gemara says, "Oh, shor shuhu pikeach pater." Does that mean that a shor which is a smart shor and it knows where it's going? So then, if it falls into the bar for that, you would be pater? So the Gemara also wonders about this. How can we make such a distinction? So the Gemara says, Amar Rabbi Yirmiyah. So Rabbi Yirmiyah actually says the way to understand the Mishnah is as follows: Loi mi Bava Kama. The Mishnah over here is actually coming to say a bigger chiddush. That meaning Loi mi Bava shor shu pikeyach. Needless to say, in a case where it's a smart shor, the chayiv, that if it falls into your bar, that you're going to be chayiv for this. Ava shor cheresh shaita v'katan. But if the shor is itself, so in such a place, in such a case that is, the Baal Bar could come and argue and say, why should I be responsible? This is something that's unusual. The fact that this shayt itself is deaf, or or something, whatever else it is, katnusa garmalai, the fact that it's so young, that was guiding that it fell in, potter, and therefore the Baal Bar could say that I'll be potter for this. Kamash Malan, the Mishnah is coming to say that Yechayev also for a shayt which is cheresh shayt v'katan. Not only if a smart shor falls in, for sure you're going to be responsible. You chayiv even for a shor that's a cheresh shor to the cotton. That's Rabbi Yirmiyah's pshat. But the Gemara is going to refute this as well. Ravacha asks Ravine, but Vatanya, in a Braisa we learned as follows: Nafal letoichoi bar das potter. If what fell into the boyer is a bar das, then bar das has awareness. You're going to be potter. So now the question is, what is this baraisa referring to, saying that if it's a bardas, potter? My love, don't you think it's talking about a shor bardas? Not like Rabbi Yirmiyah that said that if you chayiv for a shor which is a cheresh shayta v'katan, you for sure chayiv for a shor which is a pikeach, shor pikeach, a smart shor, a shor that's a bardas is the same thing. But if you hear the baraisa says no, a shor that's a bardas, you potter. Amalei, so Ravina answered, this is not a question on Ravina, because we could say, it's not talking about a shor which is a bardas. Adam, it's talking about a person that's a bardas. A person which is a bardas that falls into the bar, the Baal Bar is potter. But the Gemara asks on this pshat, elamayata. So if so, what does that mean? You have to understand from this brayse that a adam ben das the potter, a person that's sane, healthy, and he's a ben das. So if he falls into your bar, you're potter. Halav ben das the chayiv. But a person that falls into your bar and he has no das, he's a katan or he's a shaita, so then you are going to be chayiv. But that can't be. Shor v'lo yadam ksiv. The Torah says any human being in any condition that falls into your bar, you're always going to be potter. So that can't be the pshat in the Braisa. So the Gemara says, we could still say that it refers to a human being when it says here by ben das. But what it means is elamai ben das min ben das, a human being which is from the species. In other words, a human being is someone that usually has das. So a human being that usually has das, if he falls in, even if he doesn't have das, we learn out shor v'lo yadam that you're always going to be potter. That's what this Braisa is saying. So this Braisa is not a question on Rabbi Yirmiyah. But the Gemara brings from another Braisa. Amalei, Ravach still asked him, but Vatanya in another Braisa it says, Nafal letoichoi shor ben das potter. That here it clearly spells out that if the shor is a ben das, this is a smart shor that falls in, for that you're going to be potter. So how could Rabbi Yirmiyah say that our Mishnah is saying that for sure you're going to be chayiv for the shor that's a pikeach? It's coming to say that you even chayiv also for the shor which is a cheresh shayta v'katan. So therefore the Gemara concludes like the original, like the pshat that I wanted to say before, that no, we are making a distinction between a shor which is a cheresh shayta v'katan and a shor which is a smart shor. Hello Amarave, like we said before, shor v'hu cheresh, shor v'hu shayta, shor v'hu katan dafke. Then, only then, a shor which is a cheresh shayta v'katan that walks into your bar, then the Baal Bar is going to be chayiv. Avo shor v'hu pikeach. But if this is a smart shor that fell into the bar, then potter. Then you're going to be potter for this. My time, why in such a case are you potter? Because the boile iyuni umezel. Because the shayr is expected to see where it's going, and if it walks straight into a bayr, even though it sees the bayr there, this is something which is completely unusual for a shayr to do, and in such a case you're going to be potter. This is the kanira. This is for the Gemara. Such a strong svara, even though there's no remez in the pasuk for this distinction. But this is such a strong svara that the Gemara says a shayr that walks into a bayr, it's the fault of the shayr. The shayr should have looked where it's going. Taisus actually points out, there's a Taisus earlier in the Masech there about this. It's interesting that in this case we actually say that a shayr is expected to see more where it's going, even more than a human being. By a human being, the Gemara said before in Perek HaManiach, when a person bumps into something, we don't say that he has to see where he's going. A person doesn't necessarily see where he's going. But by the shayr, we say that the shayr has to see where he's going. And if he walks into the bar, the bala bar is potter. So there's two reasons that explain the difference. Why a shayr has more awareness of the human being. That one answer is because, the shayr, its eyes is always looking downward. So it sees the bar right where it's going. It's going to naturally walk around the bar. A human being, though, is looking straight ahead. It doesn't necessarily see the bar that's right over there on the ground in front of him. Another pshat I think the Meiri says is a human being is occupied in his machshavas and his daigis, so he doesn't necessarily see the bird that's right in front of him. A behemoth is not occupied in its daigis. What does it know? It knows where it's walking. That's what it sees. That's what it knows. Nothing more. So that's something that the shayr should see. So therefore you put for that when the shayr walks into the bar. Very interesting. Okay, the Gemara brings a brayse. Tanya nami hachi. The brayse says the same thing. Nafal atoicha shayr cheres shayte v'katan v'suma mahalach balayla. We had this brayse quoted before already. A shayr which is a cheres shayte v'katan, or it's blind, or it's walking at night, chayiv. So for this, you're going to be chayiv. Pikeach, if the shayr is a pikeach, it's a smart shayr, mahalach bayayim, and it's walking by day, so then for this, you're going to be potter. Okay, this is exactly like this pshat that it said over here. Okay, there's more Gemaras there if you want to take a Gemara from the shelf. Now, this is going back to the point that we learned before regarding a shayr that falls into a bayr. So when it says shayr in the Mishnah, it's not only a shayr. This could be a shayr, v'echad kol behemeh, or any other animal that falls into the bayr, as we already darshaned before. L'nefilas habayr. So now this, that we say that when it says shayr by the bayr, it's not only shayr, it's any other animal as well. This is true regarding falling into a bayr, the responsibility of the bala bayr to pay. And now here the Mishnah is going to bring a bunch of different cases in the Torah where it talks specifically about one kind of animal. It says shayr or so on, but it still includes any kind of behemoth. Ula hafrashas har Sinai. First thing it brings here is by the halacha by Har Sinai, when the Torah says that nobody should go up to the mountain. So over there the pasuk says the lashon regarding the behemoth. It says only one kind of a behemoth. It says over there in behemoth ish. So it says behemoth. Truth is, it says behemoth. So that includes any kind of behemoth. But how do you know that it includes not only behemoth, but it also includes chaya and oif? Don't allow your birds or your chayas to go onto the Har Sinai. So frashas Har Sinai over there as well. Now tashlume kefil. So over here, by paying the halacha of kefil, this is something we're going to learn later in the Masechta. So over there, the pasuk says mishayr vat chamayr. So how do we know that there it includes any animal? And not only any animal, not only any behemoth that is, but even a chay and oif as well. To pay kefil when you steal, that is. The halacha of paying kefil is when you steal and you have to pay back double. Ula shavas aveda, when it comes to returning an aveda, over there the Torah, we had the pasuk Rashi quoted before, it says seh, but nevertheless it includes any animal, any chay and so on. Leprike, the halacha of aziv tazevimai, where over there the Torah talks about chamer, if a donkey is under its load, and you have to help unload it and so on and lift up the chamer. Includes any kind of animal. L'chasima, the halacha of chasima is an animal that's threshing in the field. You're not allowed to muzzle it, even though the pasuk there says shayr, but it includes really every animal. Same thing with l'klayim. L'klayim, we'll see in the Gemara, there's two types of klayim. Simply klayim is not allowing, there's the halacha of klayim, of behem t'chal lo sarbia klayim, not to crossbreed, to have to cohabit two different kinds of animals. That's one kind of climb. Another kind of climb Rashi here brings is leisachrish b'shar b'chamer, that in plowing in the field, a donkey and an ox can't plow together. Mm-hmm. So even though the Torah specifies only behemah or only shar and chamer, how do I know that it includes everything? And l'shabbos, when it comes to the Issa of Shabbos, the Torah says l'man yenuach shercha v'chamercha, that your ox and donkey shouldn't work on Shabbos. So it includes all behemoths and v'chein chayev v'oiv chayetzeben. Not only it includes in all these cases, it includes all kinds of behemoths, and it also includes the wild beasts and birds as well. That the halachas by all these cases, it includes everything. So now so if in all these cases, as the Gemara here is going to darshan, it includes everything, so then why does the Torah specify specifically shayr or chamer? Elo shadibur akasav b'hoiveh. In many of these cases, we don't have any drasha, but dibur akasav b'hoiveh, the pasuk is just saying hoiveh. This is what's usual, and therefore the pasuk uses this expression. Okay, this is maybe the pshat for Rabbi Yehuda. I think some Mefarshim say this beferish regarding what the Gemara said before, El Rabbi Yehuda Kashya, that by Rabbi Yehuda we don't have a drasha for the word chamayr. The Gemara is saying Kashya, but the Gemara really means that Rabbi Yehuda had a Kabbalah that the word chamayr has no drasha. It's like it says over here, Dibra Akasav B'hoiveh. There is no drasha from the word chamayr. Yeah, it's not really a Kashya. The Gemara is just saying Rabbi Yehuda had a Kabbalah that remains, we leave it as is. We don't dash on anything from there. Okay, so here the Gemara brings the drashas for all of these cases. Where do we see that it includes behema, chaya, oif, even though the Torah specifies just one? It's like the Gemara in the Filas HaBayr. By the Bayr, this is the drasha we already said before. Kesav Yashav Lo Bal of Ksiv. When the Torah writes that you have to return the value of the loss to its owner, that means Kol Dis Le Bailim. Anything that has value to an owner, you have to return. So that's not only the Shayr and Chamayr, it's any other kind of behema, chaya, or oif. Kedamar, as we said before already. La Frashas Har Sinai. How do we know that it includes more than what the pasuk just says? It says in behema im ish lo yichya. A man or behema that goes up on the mountain will not live. And v'chaya b'chlal behema. We have a rule whenever the Torah uses the term behema, a chaya, a wild beast, is included in that. And then when it says im, the word im behema, so that's extra word larabis asayfis. That includes even birds that go up on the mountain will also not live. How do we know by Geneva? When you have to pay back double. How do we know that it includes everything? To Kidam Rinan, like we learn out from the pasuk that it says, Al Kol Duvar Pesha. So over there, this is actually talking about a Shomer. And here, by the Shomer, there's a similar halacha that could apply like by a Ganev, if a Shomer is guarding something, and then the owner asks it back from him, and he claims that he doesn't have it, and really he's stealing it. That's the same like a Ganev. And there the Torah specifies Kol Dvar Pesha, Klal. That includes everything. Kol Dvar Pshia. Anything that you are negligent on, which means over here in this case that you're pining that you don't have it, then really you're stealing it. So the halacha of paying kefil will apply here as well. La Shavas Aveda, how do I know that it includes not only the set that the Torah says, but any kind of animal? Because it says L'chol Aveda Sachicha. That includes everything. Leprike, to unload the animal that Azif Tazivimai, how do I know it includes more than just the chamer? Even though it says Kisira Chamer Senacha. Yalev, Chamer, Mishabes. We learn out what it says here, Chamer, and Chamer from Shabbos. The Gemara is soon going to bring that by Chamer of Shabbos, it includes everything. L'chasima, by the muzzling a cow that's threshing in the field. How do you know that it's in any kind of animal? Yalev Shur Mishabes. It says here Shur, and by Shabbos it says L'man Yenuach Shurcha v'Chamercha. So we learn out from just like by Shabbos it includes everything. Here as well, it's every kind of animal. L'kilayim. How do I know by the halacha of kilayim that it includes more than just what the pasuk says? So here, as I mentioned, there's two types of kilayim. Climb the charisha, if we're talking about the kalayim of plowing, two animals plowing together. So yalif shur mishabes. So by plowing together, it says lisachris b'shur v'chamayr. So I compare the shur of the ear to the shur that it says by Shabbos. Kalayim darba. If it's the kalayim that it says by arba, so by crossbreeding, the Torah says behemtucha loisar bia kalayim. So yalif behemtucha mishabes. We learn out the term behemtucha that it says here, also from the term behemtucha it says by Shabbos v'chol behemtucha. So we learn out from there that it includes everything. So now, if all of these are learned out from Shabbos, now the Gemara brings what it says by Shabbos. V'ga Shabbos minola, and how do I know by Shabbos that it includes everything? The Tanya and Rabbi Yisrael Rabbi Yisrael Mishum Rabbi Shmuel. B'dibris harishonis nema. In the first Aseres Adibris, which is in Parshas Yisrael, there it says that regarding resting on Shabbos, avdocha v'amascha o behemtecha. Your slave, your maidservant, and animals. That's it. Here it says much more. An ox, a donkey, and all your behemoths. So the question is, Sher and Chamayr is included in Kol Behema, that is. When it says already Kol Behemtcha, doesn't that include everything? Hayu. V'lama Yotzu. So why does the Torah specify separately Sher v'Chamaycha? The answer is, this has to include something more. It's coming to say, Ma Sher v'Chamayr kan Chaya v'oiv kayotze behen. Over here, when it says Sher and Chamayr, it's coming to say any living being, like a Sher and Chamayr. So it includes a Chay and Oif that's similar to it. And the Gemara is soon actually going to explain exactly how we learned this out, that it includes more. So Avkol Chay v'oiv kayotze behen. From here we learn out that anytime it says Sher and Chamayr, it includes also Chay and Oif as well. Okay, but the Gemara now asks, let's understand this. How do we know that it includes more over here by Shabbos? So, why shouldn't I say as follows? The dibris harishonis. By the first aseres dibris over there, it just says behemtucha. And that's a klal. Behemtucha would include any kind of animals. And then in the second aseres dibris, it says shercha v'chamercha, the dibris ha'achreina is prat. That's specifying the behemtucha that it says in the first aseres dibris, that it's the sher and the chamer, an ox and a donkey. So maybe we should apply here the rule, like we had in Amud Aleph, klal uprat, befrat. When the Torah writes a klal, then it writes the prat. The prat is specifying that it's only the prat and not anything else. What has to rest on Shabbos? Only a sher chamayr and not anything else. This is an interesting klal prat. Usually in the Torah you don't find such a thing, that you make a klal prat from one place in the Torah to another place in the Torah. It's usually only in the same pasuk. But the Aseres HaDibros, the first and the second Aseres HaDibros, the Mefarshim are considered to be like one parsha, because they were both said b'dibur echad. So the Gemara says, so Omri, they explain that over here it's not just a klal prat. Then the Torah says, v'chol behemtucha, the dibros ha'achraynes. Then afterwards, in the second dibros, when it adds again, v'chol behemtucha, chaza v'kolal. Now there's another klal. So this is a klal, uprat, uklal. So then I say, prat. So in such a case, I don't say we exclude everything that's not in the prat. We say that it has to be similar to the prat. What does it mean, similar to the prat? This is the point we said before. Ma prat mefurish balichayim. Just like the prat, which is the sher and chamayr, it's a living being, and a balchai. Avkol balichayim. So that's all kinds of balichayim, and therefore it includes a chaya and a oif as well. But the Gemara is going to refute this. The Gemara doesn't accept this drasha. Here it goes through a similar shakal v'tarya that we had in Amud Aleph. But why shouldn't I say ma ha-prat? If you're saying that it has to be similar to the prat, maybe this is even more limited. Maybe I should say ma prat mefurish davashin evlosim etame b'mago b'masa av kol davashin evlosim etame b'mago b'masa. As we explained in Amud Aleph, that a behema or a chaya is metame if you touch it or you carry it. Aval oifis loy. But when it comes to birds, maybe that's not included because it's not similar in this sense. By birds, you only become tummy if you eat it. So therefore, the klal prat the klal can't include everything, can't include birds. So Omri, but to this the answer would be similar to what we said in Amud Aleph. So then the Torah should have just written one prat, shayr or chamar. Why does it write both? But the Gemara refutes this as well, because the Gemara asks, "Hi nichtav." You're saying that it should write only one. Which one should it write? If it would only write one, then the Ke'ena Prat would actually become even more limited. Because then I would say, Ikas of Rachman is Shoyer, if it would only write Shoyer, have a minute, Karav Legabim Mizbeach in, Shein Karav Legabim Mizbeach Loy. As we learned already in Amud Aleph, that only like a Shoyer that's brought on the Mizbeach, for this you have to rest on Shabbos. But if it's not brought on the Mizbeach, you don't. So the Torah writes a donkey, which is not brought in the Mizbeach. On the other hand, if we would only say Chamayr, have a minute, Kaddish b'Bechayre in, Shaloi, Kaddish b'Bechayre loy. Only the one that has the Kedusha of Bechayr, like a Chamayr, that has to rest on Shabbos, and not something that does not have it. So therefore, Kasav Rachmana, Shir, so Torah has to write Shir as well. So Shir is extra. So to say that not only the Chamayr, but even anything, both the Shir and the Chamayr, it has to end the Shir and the Chamayr, has to rest on Shabbos. But the point is,
things that can be offered.
No. These are the things that have to rest on Shabbos. So therefore, what the Gemara is saying is, you can't say that the fact that the Torah wrote Shoyer and Chamayr is what indicates to me that the Ke'ena Prat does not have to be also in the aspect of Tumah. No, maybe it does have to be Ke'ena Prat in the aspect of Tumah. And the fact that the Torah has to write Shoyer and Chamayr both, that's to say that you don't even have a third limitation that has to be Karav Al-Gabim Mizbeach or a Chamayr, that's the Kedusha B'Chayre. So therefore the Gemara actually has Charate from this entire Klal Prat Klal. The Gemara says that's not what we're dashing, not the Klal Prat Klal. Ella says the Gemara, how do I know that I include more than just the Shoyer and Chamayr? Because it says V'chol Be'emtucha. In the second Aseres HaDibros it says the word V'chol. So Ribuyu, that the V'chol comes to add that not only a behemoth, not only the Shoyer and the Chamayr, but it means any kind of living thing, a Chaya or a Oif as well. That's the drasha. Okay, now if that's the drasha, the word v'chol, the Gemara asks, v'chol, heichid, chatzav rachmona, kol. Does that mean anytime the Torah writes this word kol, ribuyahu, do I say that it's a ribuy? Which means that I do not darshan a klal prat klal? We have over here two options. We could darshan a klal prat klal, and then it has to be ke'ena prat, and then it would not include birds. Or I could darshan v'chol be'emtucha, and it includes everything, even birds. So are you going to say that in such a case, when I have these two options, I darshan the v'chol to include even the birds? But the Gemara brings a similar example where you have these two options. By Meiser, by Meiser, the pasuk says kol. Now, this is talking about kesef meiser. When a person wants to bring his meiser sheni to Yerushalayim and you don't want to carry all the fruits, so what do? You redeem the fruits and you bring the money to Yerushalayim. Now, here the pasuk says the money that you bring to Yerushalayim, what do you buy with this money? You have to now eat in Yerushalayim, the kedusha over there with this money. But what could you buy from this money? So we learned in the Braisa as follows: the Tanya. V'nasata kesef, you should give now the money. In other words, you should buy with the money. So the pasuk first says, "B'chol hashatav nafshecha," whatever your heart desires. So that's a cloud. That means you could buy with your money anything. And then the pasuk specifies, "Ba'boka, b'tzayim, ba'yayim, b'sheichar." Specifically, these things: cattle, sheep, wine, or beer. That's a prat. The pasuk is very specific what you could buy. And then it says, "U'b'chol hashatasholcha nafshecha," whatever your heart desires. Chazav v'kolal. So this is a klal, uprat the klal. And what do we learn out from this? So here we do darshan the klal prat the klal. We say iyatadon elakena prat. What could you buy with your money of meiser? Only something which is similar to the prat which was specified here. And what is that? Ma prat mefurish pri mipri. All the things that are specified over here, you have a fruit that comes from a fruit. What this means is one that comes from another, like by the cattle. You have the animals that are born from their mothers. Or you have the wine that comes out of grape, and the same also the beer that comes out of whatever the beer comes out of. So that's what's called pri mi pri. And also gidule karka. It has to be something that either grows from the ground or gets fed from the ground. Now you have what grows from the ground, and you also have animals that eat from the ground. Avkol, you could only buy with the money of the meiser pri mi pri the gidule karka. That's the klal prat klal that we learn out over here. So now, what's the Gemara's question? But over there in the pasuk it says, "V'nasata kesef b'chol hashatav nafshecha." Why are we learning out the klal prat klal? You just said when you have the word kol, we don't darshan the klal prat klal. So over here it says b'chol, so we shouldn't darshan the klal prat klal. We should include everything. You could buy any kind of food with your money of the meiser. So the Gemara says there's a distinction. Omri, they answered, bakol, when it says the word, or v'nesata kesef b'chol hashetav nafshecha, the word bakol, klola. Over here we still say it's part of the klal, and we do darshan the klal prat the klal. But kol, when it says over here by the kol behemtecha, by aseres hadibres, the word kol, that not bikol, but kol ribuyu. That's marba everything, and therefore we're marba also ifis. Or the Gemara says another answer, kol nami kloluhu. Really, the word kol would also be part of the klal prat the klal. Miyo hai kol dahacha ribuyuhu. The reason over here by the aseres hadibris we have something that shows us that this kol has to come and be marbe. Why? Because we see here there's a difference between the dibris rishainis and the dibris achrainis. Medahavele lemichtav ubehemtucha kidichsev b'dibris rishainis. It should have said the word behemtucha like the first dibris. Most of the aseres hadibris is exactly the same, word for word. V'kasav v'chol behemtucha, and it changes from the dibris harishainis to the dibris achrainis, and it writes the word kol shma min ribuya. From that change, that shows you that over here the word kol is coming to be marbe. So the Gemara now concludes and says, "And ahashta the omret." Now that you're saying kol ribuyuhu, that the word kol behemtucha, that it says by the aseres hadibris is marbe, that any kind of animal, including a chaya and a oif, is not allowed to do any work for you on Shabbos. So, if so, behemtucha the dibris harishainis. So when the Torah says the word behemtucha, specifically a behemoth, and then it says v'sher v'chamar the dibris achrainis, and then in the second dibris it specifies an ox or a donkey. Lamali, why is the Torah saying this? If we know that it includes everything. So the Gemara answers, Omri, so this goes back to the point that we said before. The Torah is specifying these details in order to be able to compare and learn out to other cases. So they said as follows, Shoy, when the Torah writes here, Shoy, that's like Murish Shoy Shoy L'chasima. That's to learn out from this ox to the ox by the threshing, that it includes everything. As Gemara said before. And the same thing, Chamar, when it writes here, Chamar, like Mura Chamar Chamar Leprike, is to learn out from here, the Chamar when it comes to unloading the donkey, that it includes every kind of animal. And when it says Behemtucha, like Mura Behemtucha L'Kalayim, we're learning out from here to the Behemtucha of Kalayim regarding the Issa of crossbreeding, the Harba, that it includes everything. Now the Gemara asks on this, the last question here, going back to the drasha that we said, kol, so kol over here includes everything. So if so, afila adam litzer, so even an adam should also be aser. What this means is, over here, the pasuk says, if we're learning out from here, Actually, what the Gemara is asking over here is not just from the word kol. Rashi explains what the Gemara is saying is, if you're going to learn out kalayim, it's going specifically on the last thing of kalayim. If we're learning out kalayim from Shabbos, and you're saying over here that you're not allowed to have a shayr and chamayr to work together, and that's learned out from here that it includes any kind of animal, but we should learn out from Shabbos that not only a shayr and chamayr together are not allowed to plow in the field, but a human being that wants to plow in the field together with a shayr should also be aser. Similar to here, what does the Torah say over here? Over here the Torah says, L'man yenuach shayrecha v'chamayrecha, avdecha v'amascha and shayrecha v'chamayrecha. So over here it also says avdecha v'amascha, which is your maidservant, your slave. So over here you should say that it's the same thing by kalayim, that a man and a shayr can't plow together. So why is it that we learned in the Mishnah, Adam mutter im kulan? A person is allowed to plow in the field together with an ox or together with a donkey. So again, Adam mutter im kulan lachrish v'lim shayich, to plow or to pull something, to do work together. We should learn out from Shabbos that that's not allowed. Rav Papa answered to this. Papanoi Yodi Taimedah Milsa. The Chachamim that came from Papanoi, a name of a place, they know the answer to this. Omanu, and who is that? Rav Acha bar Yaakov. Makra, he says that by Shabbos here it says Laman Yanuach Avdocha va'Amoscha Kamoicha, that your slave and your maidservant should rest like you. So over here the Torah says Laman Yanuach Kamoicha. So we say Lahanocha Hikashtiv v'lo ledavar acher. The fact that your maidservant and your slave are like you, that's only regarding resting on Shabbos, but not regarding the comparison that we made to Kalayim from Shabbos, that over there I should say that your maidservant, a person, can't plow together with the ox. No, over there a person could plow together with the ox. Only two animals can't plow together.